Folks, if you're just joining us this afternoon, we are honored this afternoon to have as a guest Jody Williams. And she giggles. This is the type of character Jody is, by the way. Very inspirational. If you want to be inspired this afternoon, you will be indeed. Stick around. Jody Williams, of course, won the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, she's a heavy hitter, folks. In 1997 for her campaign to ban landmines. Jody, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Are you going to make music for me?
Absolutely.
I hear you're a musician. A composer.
A composer.
A composer.
A composer.
The only thing you can't do is cook.
No, I can't sing either. That's why I do instrumental music. Trust me, you don't want to hear me sing. Trust me on that one.
I do trust you on that one.
Thank you kindly. This show is syndicated across the university networks. Primarily we're speaking to students right now. The idea of the show is to inspire them. To inspire the students today to get out there, take action. You started off virtually as a one-woman show.
Kind of.
And look what you've accomplished. Can you take us through that process so the students listening can say, now there's a template I can use?
There's nothing magic about changing the world. I've been talking with colleagues in the last couple of days about how in today's world there's so much going on, so much overwhelming bad news, that I think people feel intimidated and disempowered. I think that people believe that if they can't make peace happen now, there's no use in trying. And I think that's an ill-conceived notion, although very understandable. And I think sometimes, I even think that it's purposely done by governments to disempower people, to make them really feel overwhelmed with chaos and that they can't do anything.
Do you ever feel like frustration yourself that you want it to happen so passionately and yet the time frame takes so darn long?
Maybe when I was younger, but not anymore. Change, even when you want it, is difficult, right? I'm an introspective person. I've been navel-gazing since I could navel-gaze. And when I've looked at different parts of my personality, my sister and I go at it with each other intellectually about it since we were kids. And if there's something I decide that I want to change, even that's difficult. You know, our habits, the way we do things, are quite ingrained, and it's hard. So trying to change an entire system, of course, is that much harder. But it doesn't mean it's not possible. And I've come to recognize that the speed of change, to me, is relative to how many people are working together to bring it about. And when I say working together, I mean getting up off their ass and taking action. Not just whining about, oh my God, global warming, or oh my God, you'd be nuked, or don't whine at me. I don't care about your whining. I care that you care about something passionately, but then you get up and take action with others to make it different. When enough of us do that, we can ban nuclear weapons. We can change global warming. We can even change militarism. But it means people working together with a common idea and a common goal, and you can make it happen. That's what we did with landmines. Yes, I was the staff of one, but I did not change the world by myself. Nobody does. The reason we succeeded in banning landmines was because tens of thousands of people fought just like I did, joined the campaign in varying ways, each contributing what they could, and together we moved the world to give up the weapon. But it didn't happen by me alone. I mean, it's really impressive to be introduced as an example of an individual who changed the world. I mean, it sounds so fantastic. It's bullshit. I did not change the world by myself.
You're a very humble woman.
I'm realistic. I think I'm great, but, you know, not that kind of great. Not like, I like who I am or I wouldn't do what I do, but I'm realistic. I didn't do it alone. Do you think that if I could change the world alone, I would have just gone after landmines? Hell no, we would have peace. You know?
Absolutely. Folks, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with an incredibly courageous woman, not only courageous, great insight, great foresight, and a vision for the betterment of mankind. Now, her name is Jody Williams, and Jody Williams won the 1997 Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, indeed, we are indeed speaking with a Peace Laureate this afternoon. And
with a great love of Canada.
Of Canada. And I was
because Canada was intimately involved in the landmine
movement. I was just going to talk about Lloyd Axworthy.
I love Lloyd.
I actually had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Axworthy several years ago when his book came out.
In 1996, under then Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, the Liberal government, Lloyd Axworthy became Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs. That's the equivalent of the U.S. government's Secretary of State. Axworthy championed the movement to ban landmines and human rights around the world. From 1999 through to 2000, Axworthy was president of the United Nations Security Council. In 1997, United States Senator Patrick Leahy nominated Axworthy to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his work on banning landmines. He did not win that year, 1997, but the Nobel Prize went to a good friend of his who had worked in tandem with him to ban landmines, Jody Williams. In 1998, Lloyd Axworthy was made an officer of the Order of Canada.
Process to those that are unaware of the Canadian connection?
Sure. When we started the landmine campaign, it was back formally in 1992, and we looked at the tools available to us at that time to bring about change. Right? And there was an existing UN treaty that dealt a little bit with landmines. It was terrible. What it tried to do was tell military in the field how to use the weapon responsibly. It's not possible to use landmines responsibly. It's an indiscriminate weapon that stays in the ground after the end of war. So how can you responsibly use it? You're gone home, peace has come, and people can be blown up for decades. The UN, not surprisingly, was rather unresponsive to our desire to change that treaty, to amend the treaty to a ban. It took 2.5 years of UN process to make the treaty weaker instead of banning the weapon. But in that time, the campaign had grown exponentially, and we had been able to put pressure on governments individually so that they had taken steps.
Diana, Princess of Wales, personally championed the Ottawa Treaty and challenged all countries to take part. To demonstrate her conviction, Princess Diana walked gingerly near a minefield in Angola. This brought international attention to the children of the area and to the great cause of banning landmines and ultimately the Ottawa Treaty itself.
For example, in March of 1995, Belgium was the first country to unilaterally ban landmines. Right? They passed laws in Belgium saying that nobody could use them, produce them, export them, etc. That spurred other governments to do the same thing. And if you get enough governments taking steps, you have the building blocks for change.
You build momentum.
Yes. And so when the UN process collapsed, in our view, all of those governments were so pumped about the possibility of change that they came together in a conference hosted in Canada to discuss a roadmap to banning the weapon. And it was amazing. It was in October of sorry, I have a hair in my eye. October of 96.
All state parties to the Ottawa Treaty commit to 1. Never use anti-personnel mines, nor to develop, produce, otherwise acquire, stockpile, retain, or transfer them. 2. They agree to destroy mines in their stockpiles within 4 years of signing. 3. They agree to clear mined areas in their territory within 10 years. 4. In mine-affected countries, conduct mine risk education and ensure that mine survivors, their families and communities receive comprehensive assistance. 5. Offer assistance to other state parties, for example, in providing for survivors or contributing to clearance programs. 6. Adopt national implementation measures, such as national legislation, in order to ensure that the terms of the treaty are upheld in their territory.
Lloyd was the host as foreign minister, welcomed the delegates. I think there were 50 countries there participating and maybe 25 as observers. The International Committee of the Red Cross was there, the landmine campaign, it was open, participatory. So we worked really hard for a couple of days, and at the end we had a roadmap to, lead us eventually to a ban. And then Lloyd comes back at the end of the meeting to do the formal farewell, and he blows everybody out of the water by saying, you know something, Canada doesn't think this is enough. You have come here because you have pledged to ban landmines. You've been talking about it now for 5 years. The time has come to do it now. Canada challenges you to come back to Ottawa in a year's time and sign a mine ban treaty. The room, the governments wanted to throw up. Civil society was like, there was crying, there was cheering, and that launched the year-long process, now known as the Ottawa process, where governments got together outside the UN and negotiated the mine ban treaty. It was absolutely the most amazing thing I've ever been involved in my life.
Truly was, and I think we can use those ideas and bring them forward to today in many, many areas.
Yes.
The Ottawa Treaty, or officially known as the Convention on the Prohibition of the Use, Stockpiling, Production, and Transfer of Anti-Personnel Mines and on their destruction, bans all anti-personnel landmines around the world. The Ottawa Treaty Conference was held in Ottawa, Canada in 1996. To date, there are 161 state parties to the treaty and 36 United Nations states not party. As of today, the U.S. has not signed on to the agreement.
I only have 2 questions left for you because I know you have to run. First one is, what pisses you off?
Laziness. It pisses me off to hear people whine about the world and then go, drink a beer as they watch the Canucks, or is that still a team?
Yeah, it still is, yeah.
Is it still a team?
Yeah.
I am not engaged in watching team sports. But, don't whine. Just don't waste your energy. Take the beer, sit in front of the TV, and shut up.
It's okay.
Yeah.
University students, I'm sure.
I know, I apologize. I promised my mother, who just turned 80, that I would not use the F-bomb in public anymore. I've gotten way better, but occasionally I slip now.
It's okay.
I get really agitated when people just bitch and they don't do anything about it. I want to see action. People have no trouble spending hours watching television or going to the mall shopping. Give up a freaking hour and volunteer and change the world. It's not magic. It really is finding a group of people working on something you really care about, offering your time. That's all it takes.
Yourself.
Yes. But whining is not going to change the world.
Absolutely not. Folks, our guest today, Jody Williams, the 1997 Nobel Peace Laureate for banning mines. We just talked about the Canadian connection. Final question, as you know, this is primarily for students right across the country in Canada, but also around the world because it's on the internet. What would you say to them?
I would say, if you are really committed to change, send me an email and we can talk about what you care about. I'm happy to talk with you about finding a group that you want to volunteer with. My email is Williams, which is my name, Williams at ICBL, easy to remember, International Campaign to Ban Landmines.org. Send me an email, tell me where that it's from this interview, and we can engage in discussion about how you can change the world.
I think that's perfect. And folks, of course, www.brenthollandshow.com. I will put that link right there for you, make it very easy for you. Just click on it and you'll be in contact with our guest this afternoon, Jody Williams. Thank you so much.
It was fun.
All your work.
Now, I want to hear your composition, so... You can't sing.
Can't sing with a darn. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun.